The media and the politicians all the time is trust the science, listen to the science, etc., etc., etc. So we heard the other day in England, just for example, move on to Ireland in a second, but just touch on England for a second, that 12 to 15-year-olds, healthy 12 to 15-year-olds won't need to take whatever vaccine, the AstraZeneca or whatever, they don't need it. And that was from the government's, the UK government's advisory committee, that they didn't see the benefit in it. There wasn't a benefit. And now the government, the politicians particularly, Boris Johnson, the rest of them, have changed their mind. And again, they didn't listen to the science. Again, these people were public health experts, doctors, and they said there was no benefit in giving the 12 to 15-year-olds. And I would agree to healthy young 12 to 15-year-olds in this country that have done this already. And I don't see the benefit. I really, really don't see the benefit in doing it. Because when you're young, your immune system is very good. It's very good for a young person, and especially if you're taking, as a young person, you're obviously very healthy compared to, take for someone in the 50s or whatever. But, they didn't listen to the science. Boris Johnson, the chief health officer over there, they overruled it, and as we see now, they're going to get them out in schools. And above all places, schools, to give them out in schools. And obviously we don't know, again, we don't know about choice or things like that, they're going to force them to take it or whatever. But, this is the thing, it shouldn't, if they say something, again, mixed messages, that happened last week. It was said they won't give it to 12 to 15-year-olds, it was recommended to the government, and the government U-turned that in England and said, no children. We're going to go with it, we're going to go against the science, we're going to do our own thing, we don't give a damn. Because as we even watched one of the posts and the health professionals to advise the government, he said there's no benefit. And he said, especially if they're healthy young people, there's no benefit to it, because they have a good immune system, and that's one of the top UK chief medical officers saying that. And the government just overruled them and said no. But talking about here, for example, Dr. Tony Hooland, the head of NPHET, and thanks for hopefully please God to be disbanded next month, because I'm sick of looking at them. He's coming along now. And at the beginning of this pandemic and everything, when the vaccines were given out in March and April, and I remember politicians saying this, if people get the vaccine, if we get enough people, we get something like 90% people vaccinated in this country, we could go back to normal, whatever normal is, the new normal, as they often say, the new world order or whatever. But that's what they said. And I remember being home and saying that if we get enough people vaccinated, we get herd immunity, X, Y, and Z, all these promises. And again, as we know with politicians in this country, promises are promises, they never kept, they never stood by. And we come out to Dr. Tony Hooland came out today, and I heard out of his own mouth that is at any point, more or less, there could be more restrictions. Even though probably 93% of the population is vaccinated, double vaccinated. They still say, that's not enough. That's not enough to beat the coronavirus. We meet other restrictions. And I'm sitting here like, even Dr. Tony Hooland at one stage said if we get enough people vaccinated, there'll be no need for restrictions. We can end all restrictions. We can get rid of everything. Everything's out the window. And obviously one thing they did take an exception to back then was the mask. They said masks could be here to stay for a while. And I do believe that. I said it'd be years and years before masks are got rid of in this country. But again, I say to Dr. Tony Hooland, and I say to NPHET, and I say to the Fianna Fáil, because obviously NPHET. And again, one thing that somebody did say, I think it was John Waters, I seen a clip of it, and he actually said what I'm about to say here. Who was Dr. Tony Hooland? Again, I wouldn't mind if it was Leo or Micheál, because they're basically the head of government, or even the president, even though he has no power, saying, we can't rule out. Because again, who's Dr. Tony Hooland? What electorate? Who voted them in? Because I don't remember seeing him on the ballot paper for Cavan and Monaghan, and maybe other people did. But again, we don't vote these people in. They shouldn't be saying, we can, at any moment we could bring in restrictions, which is what really has been said. The most, as he said, the senators and TDs, the infection rate is too high, which we can't rule out. Other restrictions, either be lockdowns or other things, probably restrictions on travel or whatever. And it's craziness. It's really, really craziness, especially because they said, and people kind of had the coward in front of them, and they were bringing them down the road and saying, we're going to give you back everything you lost. Bringing you down the road with a coward in front of you like a donkey. And then come down the road, when we get to the end of the road, they're like, hang on a second, we're going to bring you down another road, and then it goes down another road, and it's the same thing as the goalposts keep getting moved. The goalposts are here, then they're over there, then they're here. The goalposts keep getting moved. Next thing you see, you had to get a third jab or whatever to go here, to go there with booster jabs and things like that. Again, it just goes to show this with the UK government. I wouldn't mind that the 1 in 5s, they were told that there's really no benefit to it, so why would you do it? And the government went and done their own thing. And again, in this country, particularly Ireland, it's just medical apartheid. I don't know what they have in this country, but the more, I don't know, I never seen the crack in my life. This kind of carry on. But it's craziness. It's absolutely craziness. It really, really is. That they're coming along now and saying, we can't rule out other lockdowns or other restrictions. And I say to Dr. Tony Hunt, and I said to Micheál Martin, I was going to say that a few seconds ago, that, the amount of people who have suffered mental health issues, in Cavan alone, the CAMHS is HSE funded. They're overwhelmed. They're backed up nearly 2 years in appointments. 2 years, particularly young people. And I'm saying to you straight, Dr. Tony Hunt, the risks to COVID or whatever it doesn't outweigh the amount of things that's coming after it. And what I mean by that is people that are waiting for cancer treatment, people waiting for lung treatment, all the health appointments that are non-COVID, people are suffering. More people are probably dying from that than they are from COVID. Because people are not being treated. People are not being treated. And it's simple as that. People are not being treated. There's a huge amount of operations cancelled. They're backed up. You name it. And people are suffering. People are suffering as we speak now. Are suffering with broken legs. God knows what. And they need surgery. They need an operation. And because of COVID, everything's thrown out the window. And this is what's happening. And people are suffering because then people are dying. More people are dying probably from that than they ever did COVID. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I'm saying that straight to you. I'm saying that straight to you because people are suffering. There's more people suffering. If you think about it, there's nearly 1 million people in the HSEs register that are backed up with appointment and waiting for appointments for different things. And as I said about mental health appointments, CAMHS, only for the voluntary organisation So Sad Play the House, the whole country would be in a great mess. And a lot of people's mental health is taking a huge tone with the lockdowns and things like that. We can't accept any more restrictions than anything. We can't do that to people. We simply can't say to people, we're going to lock you in for another 6 or 7 months or during the winter time. We can't do that. We can't do that, particularly our young people. We can't say to them now that, when they're back to school and everything, even talk with their friends and whatever at school. That's a good thing to socialise, and then in the fire, at least they can talk to people and at least have the physical interaction. But again, we can't turn around next week and say we're going to lock down everything again and we're going to put everybody back in. That's going to increase the rate of suicides. Again, there wasn't any records taken last year for the amount of people who committed suicide. And I don't know why. Everything else was... The COVID numbers were calculated nearly every 10 seconds. But the people who committed suicide, there wasn't any records of it. The Central Statistics Office basically said that nothing. It wasn't calculated for half the year. But again, this is the thing we need to understand. That there is other things in the background that are creeping up and are bigger than COVID ever was. Take for example the amount of people who've lost their jobs, the impact, the amount of people who are losing livelihoods as we speak at the moment when business has been restricted. And this is the crack that the Donegan comes up with. Again, it's one thing perfecting one thing, but COVID doesn't outweigh all the other problems. The other problems, mental health and other things, overwhelmingly outweighs COVID and the risks due to COVID. It's overwhelming. You think about the economy. The economy is not the biggest thing as long as people are happy and healthy. But the economy too. You can't run in the hope and the prayer. Let's be totally honest. You can't run the economy in the hope and the prayer. But people are suffering. People have to pay bills. Businesses still have to pay bills. They have to pay employers, and they are being affected by COVID. And it isn't fair on the businesses. It isn't fair when people having to wait for operations, and you're suffering terribly for waiting for operations for months and months and months. And now maybe someone have to wait years and years and years before they even seem to. And the same with CAMHS, people waiting for mental health treatment. It's beyond. And then they come out with this kind of carry on, saying we could. And again, as we were told at the beginning, to take the vaccine, you basically get your life back. You basically do no restrictions. You basically go free, and you can roam here, you can go there and everywhere. So basically, more or less, that's been thrown out the window and said, we can do whatever we want. But again, I don't want to sound like an anti-vax or conspiracy theorist, but it's just putting it straight. It's the way I see it. It's the way I see it, and I'm just saying it straight. And again, I know some people might disagree. That's fair enough. It's democracy. But I'm sure you would agree that we can't go on like this forever, for the next 6 or 7 years, take for example. I'm not saying it will, but we can't go on. We can't go on for another 5 years. Or take for us even another 2 years, we can't go on. Like constant lockdowns, constant restrictions, constant this, constant that, constant the other. It'll drive people up the bend. And 2 years nearly into this, we can't allow our citizens to be put through any more hell. And that's putting it straight. We can't allow it. We simply can't. We simply can't as a people. We couldn't allow it. We can't allow it. We can't push people to the edge. That's the end of it. Take care, everybody.